Don't let the title of this video fool you. I absolutely love Child's Play 3. I'm prepared to get flamed for everything I'm about to say because even though the movie's near and dear to my heart, I have to be realistic. When I look at it without nostalgia goggles and instead a more critical perspective, it's really hard not to compare Child's Play 3 to the two great films that came before it. The first two Child's Play films complement each other perfectly. The original sets the standard, and the sequel builds upon the victories of it. And given the drastically short turnaround time that Mancini and company had with the third film, it's really not hard to understand why it feels so forced and out of place at times. Now, I have some specific ideas that I believe would make Child's Play 3 feel a lot more organic and ultimately just a better final entry in that original Child's Play trilogy. Now, before we get rolling, I think it's important to remind everybody that this video is just for fun. I think we're all pretty well aware that there's nothing that a YouTube video can do to fundamentally change a film that was released over 30 years ago. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started here. First, I think it would be best to confront the throwaway aspects of Child's Play 3, the military school setting. It has to go. There's some great movies set in military schools. I just don't think that this subgenre is right for Chucky. I am and always will be a fan of Chucky's genre swapping, but this setting limits the scope of the story at a time when the guardrails should be down completely. Next, we need to lose the older version of Andy Barclay. Now, I don't want to totally cut his character out of the movie because I think he deserves some sense of finality here, and his epic battle against Chucky needs to be respectfully bookended. The drastic leap ahead in time is just very jarring, and it removes much of the charm from the character that was built in those original two films. I think the approach should be really similar with Tyler. I don't want to cut his character out completely just because I really like the general idea of his character. A little kid forced to grow up way too soon, clinging to his childhood for dear life. This portrayal is just far too hokey. We need a much younger actor with a much darker character background than simply dad's too busy to raise me. De Silva's gotta go next. Now, I love the idea of this character. She's the object of Andy's adolescent affection. I just can't help but dwell on the reverse Lolita they try to pull here. She looks 25 and Andy looks and sounds 14. Now, not saying that Child's Play 3 shouldn't have strong female characters, just not portrayed like this. Now, that's really all that I would cut from this film. Let's go ahead and talk about the elements of the movie that we definitely need to keep. First and foremost, the opening of the film. From the swirling credit sequence to the dimly lit board meeting to Chucky toying with the PlayPal CEO, that consumer trainees line, hell yeah, keep all of that. It's pure gold. The way they resurrect Chucky is simple, but it's still so effective. The evil's in the blood. That's some classic horror shit. That's rock and roll right there. This version of Chucky stays too. In my opinion, he's top tier. Regardless of how you really feel about Child's Play 3, I think you'll be hard pressed to find a better looking or sounding portrayal on screen aside from maybe Child's Play 2. His one-liners are razor sharp, he's sneaky and crooked, and he's always witty and hilariously cranky. Also, if you don't have Dourif's charm here, you lose the film altogether. His performance anchors the movie and saves it from itself in the end. We need to lose Andy, but keep him at the same time. Something more in the 8 to 12-year-old range would be a lot better. You keep his mom institutionalized, but place him in a more realistic environment to navigate, rather than just leapfrogging into the future and ignoring a lot of important years in Andy's life that could serve as the basis for some great stories. I first think of the Child Services Facility in Child's Play 2. I know we're only there briefly, but the general setting reminds me of some classic horror sequels like Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. You have the Pinehurst Youth Development Center. You have Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, where the teenagers up at Weston Hills are tormented by their nightmares. It really just makes a lot of sense to place Andy in a home for troubled or traumatized youth. It creates opportunities to add more interesting characters in Andy's age range, and it also creates even more opportunities for more involved adult characters like Dr. Gordon or Pam. We'll keep some of the side characters, but tweak a few finer details here and there to sort of demilitarize them a bit. Colonel Cochran and Sergeant Botnick, for example. The Colonel would be written as Mancini originally intended, a big, intimidating juicehead dude. Also, we'll keep his kill, because Chucky scaring a behemoth to death would be pretty hilarious. As for Botnick, I think we keep him and we give the character one appearance, where he chews the scenery for a few minutes, but as a regular barber in this time around. Now, Shelton and Whitehurst, those are two characters that you keep, at least in general. Having a human being as a secondary antagonist to Andy would really be interesting in the story, but I think it's most important that he has a supporter that's his age, someone who witnesses Chucky in his true form and decides to take a stand with Andy. Whitehurst isn't really there at first, but he eventually becomes that support when he sacrifices himself. Our characters don't need to jump on a grenade, they just need to believe Andy and have his back. There are a lot of great kills in the movie, and aside from the color war scene, they're not really specific to anything in the military school setting. So I say we keep the majority of them. We go ahead and we place them throughout the story in different areas while ramping up the gore and the brutality to levels that the series hasn't really seen before. Also, that scene of Andy and Chucky playing hide and seek together, we should stretch it out a bit, turn it into sort of a slow-paced chase scene between the two of them, really flesh out the tension and the terror and make it something really scary. All that stuff is great, but none of it compares to possibly the biggest keeper of all, the final act, Carnival. It's a perfect setting for Chucky to play around in, but we need more time there. In Child's Play 3, it just so happens that Kent Military School is conveniently a stone's throw away from the carnival. That scene where Andy and Da Silva watch the carnival from afar almost feels like the movie is staring into the distance, imagining a different identity for itself. If we want to keep the carnival, we have to find a more natural way to end up there. We can't just stumble upon it or set our story in a hotel next door. So why not make it a final destination? No, not that final destination. We need to make Child's Play 3 a road movie. Now, before we go any further, I think it's only wise to address what I consider to be a tiny elephant in the room. Bride of Chucky, it's technically a road movie. Now, if Child's Play 3 would have done that first, Bride of Chucky would have undoubtedly been a lot different. Now, I'm not trying to disrespect that movie or piss off any fans of it. I'm a fan of it myself, but I'm also here to say that Bride of Chucky doesn't really have a monopoly on the road movie genre. It's no Easy Rider, it's no 5 Easy Pieces, it's no Paris, Texas, no Badlands, My Own Private Idaho, it is not. So, Child's Play 3 on the road, how do we make it happen? Like we said before, we'll keep all the great stuff from the opening, only this time, when Chucky accesses the computer to find Andy, he'll see that he's the newest resident in the boys' wing at the Kent Youth Rehabilitation Center. He'll be surrounded by a small gang of court-mandated residents, there for a bevy of reasons from theft to assault with a deadly weapon. All of these boys will be similar in age, in the 8 to 14-year-old range, with one exception being our version of Tyler, who will be the youngest resident at 6 years old. They'll be supervised by a friendly but firm Ned Flanders type who, from this point on in the story, we'll just refer to as Flanders. So, how exactly did Andy end up in here? He's been jumping around from family to family, sort of following in Kyle's footsteps. When she turned 18, she tried to become his legal guardian, but it failed in the courts, and because of his most recent criminal record, Andy's now considered a dangerous threat to society. Theft, assault on a police officer, vandalism, possession of alcohol, possession of tobacco, a vice undoubtedly picked up from Kyle in Child's Play 2. Andy's been a busy boy, but I think it's safe to say that he never quite got over the trauma caused by his horrific experiences with Chucky. Now, at this facility Andy's landed in, all the young residents are working on becoming better functioning members of society. They do this by completing various chores and tasks, all while being punished and rewarded based on a simple points system. When we arrive in the story, Andy's been there a few weeks and he's still struggling to fit in. He and the rest of the misfits are only a few points away from their final goal. For cinematic purposes, they're going to need a large, complicated task to force them to work together. In comes our boy Flanders. He orders them to clear out the old storage shed on the back of the grounds, then paint it inside and out once it's clear. But the boys claim it just can't be done. Flanders tells them to suck it up. There's 9 of you. Find a way to get it done. Pay attention, nerds. The number 9 is significant here. It's a bit of a Lord of the Rings reference. Andy and these 8 other adolescents will eventually become their own sort of disturbed fellowship, so to speak. At first, it's much less Lord of the Rings and a lot more Lord of the Flies. This part of the movie would be a great time to endear some of these side characters to the audience. We can get some great banter and some subtle introductions into who they are as characters, and then eventually they'll accomplish the task, and even though they aren't all best friends at this point, they'll at least be a little closer than they were when the movie started. Flanders will be so impressed with their teamwork that he'll award them more points than originally promised and fast track the secret reward he's been dangling over their heads. The reward is, you guessed it, a road trip to a world famous carnival. The carnival is a 2 to 3 day drive, so Flanders packs up the facility transit bus and sets out with the gang of delinquents and their suitcases in tow. Chucky arrives just in time to stow away in the luggage compartment. He waits until they stop for fuel and then kills a garbage man with his own truck to create a diversion. Andy and the other kids are inside the gas station, and it's here that Chucky witnesses Andy steal a nudie mag, and we get that hilarious line,
Andy, how you've grown.
Then Andy wanders into the bathroom, and it's here that Chucky corners him. Now, here's where we rewrite that great reunion between Andy and Chucky from Child's Play 3. It's mostly the same as before. Andy's in denial, saying,
"You're dead, we killed you!"
And Chucky responds in kind with that classic line,
You just can't keep a good guy down.
Andy still says,
"You're not gonna kill me, you need me."
but it's after this line that we change the stakes of the story and really rewrite Chucky's motivations. I think Chucky's response should be a little more drawn out, a little more sinister. He should say something like,
I don't need you, you little shit. I have a new body now. I can take anyone I want. I don't need your scrawny little body. I'm here to end your pathetic little life. I'm here for revenge, and you're not gonna spoil it, not this time.
From outside the door, we hear the squeaky voice of Tyler, who at this point has taken a liking to Andy. Chucky freezes in his tracks, then slowly turns to Andy and flashes an awful grin. Andy knows what Chucky wants right away. He wants the boy. Chucky switches off just as Tyler rolls in. The kid notices a good guy doll and can't contain his excitement. Andy scrambles scrambles to his feet and quickly cuts the kid off from the doll. He warns the little dude that that doll is dangerous, and when he can't give a detailed reason why, Chucky fills the dead space with a seemingly automated response like,
"Don't leave me behind, friend."
meant to manipulate Tyler into wanting to take him along on the road trip. Andy destroys any chance of this by field goal kicking Chucky across the bathroom. He then whisks Tyler outside and pushes a dumpster in front of the door to trap Chucky. Tyler's pretty pissed off and confused at first. Andy tells him he found the doll in the shitter, so he didn't think that they should touch it and risk being covered in pus-seeping herpes sores by sundown. Since Tyler's imagination is running wild, he quickly joins the opinion that that specific good guy doll is not one to be touched. Andy and Tyler board the bus with the rest of the crew, and just like that, they're on the road again. But back at the gas station, Chucky is crashing out. The door just won't budge and he can't quite reach the windows, so he's trashing the place in a violent fit of rage. Something like Dewey Cox meets the Tasmanian Devil. Outside, a huge semi squeals to a halt in the parking lot. A massive trucker ambles out, waddling toward the bathroom with just a few moments to spare before shitting his pants. He gets inside and sits down just in time to avoid destroying his overalls. This guy is the size of an industrial refrigerator, and he looks something like a mixture of Jack Black, the Giant, and Jelly Roll. After wrapping up his emergency number 2, he moves to the sink to wash his hands, when suddenly Chucky appears right behind him. The trucker is pretty confused, and from the way that he speaks to Chucky, it's pretty clear that he believes Chucky is an adult little person. Chucky demands a ride and even threatens the trucker, who writes it off as just another desperate character on the road. My idea for this trucker character, who from this point on we'll just call him the trucker, would be to turn him into something like Andre the Giant's character in The Princess Bride. He's Chucky's protector of sorts. Chucky first manipulates the trucker by pretending to care about his ailing mother, and then cooks up a story about how his own parents died and left him this massive inheritance. And wouldn't you know it, Andy and his gang of juvenile delinquents stole all of Chucky's money. Chucky promises to pay off the trucker's medical debt if he helps him, and so he agrees and they hit the road on a mission. Chucky and the trucker track the boys to a strip mall bordering the busy interstate. The semi is way too big to cruise through the narrow parking lot, so they circle the place and wait. Finally, Chucky thinks he sees Andy walk into a barber shop. Once inside, it doesn't take Chucky long to realize that the kid that he saw is definitely not Andy. And almost just as quick, the trucker's hit with another tyrannical bout of IBS, so he abandons Chucky to an empty chair and waddles away to destroy the toilet. Chucky can barely control his rage as he looks in the barber's mirror and sees Andy's bus leaving the parking lot behind him. Chucky quietly stews as the new Botnik slunks around and creeps out his possible customers. Now, he won't get as much screen time in this version, so we'll really make him chew the scenery this time around. Every inch of his walls will be covered in photos paired with framed locks of hair allegedly belonging to his vast catalog of celebrity clients. He'll also have a framed pair of scissors with a small blood stain crusted on the blades, and an engraving that reads, "From the time I flinched and snipped Hulk Hogan's ear." With all of his other customers scared away, Botnik isn't happy that the trucker used his shitter without at least getting a trim. Now, I know a lot of people love the "presto, you're dead" line, so I'm gonna go ahead and preserve it here, but we're definitely gonna do it a bit different. Botnik urges the trucker to get a haircut to square them away, then the new Botnik is gonna get mean. He's gonna insult the trucker numerous times, ending his cruel barrage with a comment like, "On second thought, a face like yours can't be fixed with a haircut." As Botnik roars with laughter, the trucker notices that Chucky's gone. Botnik then presents his barber's chair to the trucker and says, "Sit down, Tubby. Give me 5 minutes and presto, you're a new man." Botnik throws the cape over him and turns around to grab his clippers, and when his back is turned, a tiny doll hand slashes his Achilles with a straight razor. Now, I've always been in the camp that believes that Sergeant Botnik's kill in Child's Play 3 was watered down. I think that the character's such an asshole that in our version we're gonna go ahead and prolong the kill and make it a lot more mean-spirited. Botnik's crawling around, Chucky jumps on his back and starts to carve him with a straight razor, then he'll deliver a variation of his classic 1-2 punch. He'll say,
"Presto, you're a new man."
and instead of saying, "It's definitely you," this time he'll say something a lot more sinister like,
"Little nip and tuck, and you're looking brand new."
The trucker's understandably in shock, but Chucky snaps him out of it with an ass chewing, talking to him about how he needs to stand up for himself, essentially blaming him, saying that if he would have just told Botnik off, none of that would have had to happen. In the process of cleaning all of this up, Chucky and the trucker get momentarily separated, and when that happens, a little girl finds Chucky and whisks him away to her family station wagon. Her family's on vacation. They're all packed tight in their wood-paneled boat on wheels. I have this image in my mind. Andy looks out the window of the bus and sees Chucky's sinister face in the car with all the kids. Now, the entire time that Chucky's on the road with his family, the trucker is hot on their tail in his semi. Now, he thinks that Chucky's his friend and he thinks that he's in danger, so he's gonna do his absolute best to rescue him. The dad driving the station wagon notices a sign that says "Camping 5 miles" and a huge sporting goods store along the highway. He decides to detour the vacation for an impromptu camping trip, which his kids are ecstatic about, but Chucky's definitely not happy. That is until he notices Andy's bus in the parking lot. Fortunately for Chucky, Flanders has decided on a camp out for the boys too. As the trip progresses, we'll get plenty of banter between Andy and his peers, and even though they've spent a lot of time together, it'll still be pretty clear that they're not fond of each other. And Flanders knows it. A night spent around the campfire telling ghost stories might do well to bond them together a little bit more. Once inside the sporting goods store, Chucky loses the little girl and then begins to stalk Andy throughout the aisles. He exchanges his pocket knife for something much larger, but he's apprehended by the little girl before he can attack. Just as she snatches Chucky up, the trucker appears and loudly tries to wrestle the doll away from the girl. This creates a stranger danger moment and plenty of commotion, which allows Andy and his crew to slip away unscathed. Once they hit the road again, Andy's visibly shaken, and some of the boys on the bus notice this. They try to find out what's bothering him, but at this point, Andy doesn't really trust anyone. At the campsite, Andy carefully stares into the dark woods while the rest of the group tells ghost stories directly behind him. It's at this point that we find out young Andy's packing. He has a switchblade in one sock, a foldable hunting knife in the other, and a pair of brass knuckles hidden in the pocket of his windbreaker. Over the hill and out of sight, the wood-paneled station wagon is parked by a different fire. The family's still a bit rattled, but their kids are safe and happy. And as the dad pulls out his guitar and starts singing, Chucky slips away into the dark. When the girl finally notices, she loses her shit. We cut to a stranger's point of view in the woods, watching the station wagon family from the shadows, breathing heavy and slow like Michael Myers with a deviated septum. The trucker's on his back in the dirt, and before he knows it, Chucky's standing there on his gut, holding a massive blade right next to his nose. Now Chucky's pretty amused that he nearly made the trucker piss his overalls, but he's even happier when he finds out that the trucker actually located Andy about a half mile over the hill. They go ahead and start their hike, and it's not long before they can actually see Andy and his group around the fire. Andy spots the massive trucker and recognizes him from the sporting goods store. He puts one with two immediately and sprints off into the woods. Unbeknownst to Flanders and all the boys sitting around the fire, Chucky and the trucker are hot on Andy's tail. This leads to a foot chase scene throughout the woods. Back at the fire, one of the older boys steps up and says he's actually going to go out there and find Barkley. He says that they can't just let him go crazy all alone out there. Flanders is worried about Andy too. He has absolutely no idea about the dangers surrounding them in the woods. So, thinking it'd be a good opportunity for some team building, he encourages the rest of the boys to go along with the first kid that volunteered. All but Tyler, who he has to restrain as the others run off into the dark. We cut back to Andy evading Chucky. They end up eventually cornering Andy with his back to a small cliff over a raging ravine. The trucker starts to interrogate Andy about Chucky's supposed money, but Andy tries to reason with him and explain that Chucky lies to everyone all the time. Chucky absolutely flips out and screams at the trucker to grab Andy. And as he starts towards Andy, the remaining 7 boys actually show up directly behind them and hide in the brush. Andy jukes the trucker to the left and lets loose a mighty kick to his nuts. The trucker doubles over, gasping for life like a fish beached on the riverbank. Andy lunges at Chucky and grabs him with both hands and begins to beat his head against the ground. Chucky manages to bite Andy's arm, and the boy spikes Chucky like a pigskin. The doll tumbles down but snaps to his feet in an instant, drawing his massive hunting knife. Chucky says something awful like,
I'm gonna skin you alive, Andy.
but this time, Andy's not running. He's done with that shit. He threads his brass knuckles onto his right hand and flicks his switchblade with his left. Then he squares up, ready to go out swinging. The trucker stumbles up and begins to inch toward Andy with Chucky by his side. Before they get too far, a flying object buzzes through the air and blasts the trucker right in the nose, splattering a thick burst of blood all over his face and chest.
My nose.
The trucker yells as he leans down to pick up his airborne assailant.
It's a walnut.
He says. Then, like a thunderstorm from out of the brush, the gang of boys emerge screaming, their arms filled with walnuts from a tree shedding behind them. They let loose on Chucky and the trucker like a rabid firing squad. Think the rock fight scene from It. They pelt the giant doofus trucker so much, he backpedals and topples off the cliff into the ravine below. All of these boys thought that they knew Andy's story. They thought he was just some weird kid who murdered his babysitter, murdered his foster parents, and then blamed it on a doll. It was national news after all. Now they know the truth. They've seen Chucky in his true form, and Andy's able to tell them the full story with complete detail. This pisses the boys off. They were pumped when they saw how Andy stood up to Chucky and that giant dude. They think Andy's a beast, a fucking warrior. They decide to join forces with him and defeat Chucky together. Flanders goes to bed overjoyed at the newfound camaraderie, and as he sleeps, the boys plan their defense, because the next day, they'll be at the carnival, and Andy fully expects Chucky to be there too. Cue the 80s montage. A motivational synth song plays as Andy and crew prep their own weapons, knives, clubs, and other improvised tools of destruction. They agree to keep all this on the down low. They really don't want Flanders to find out. They know that he's just a little too sensitive for this type of warfare. So before we proceed to the final act, we need to get Chucky back on track and also score some opportunities for some more kills, because up until this point, my version of Child's Play 3 seems to be lacking in that department. Straight away from Andy's weapons montage, we fade to black for a beat, then to an interior shot of a clunky Buick driven by a droopy old man with his googly-eyed wife riding shotgun. Chucky and the trucker are squeezed in the back seat, both of them soaking wet and silent as Flowers on the Wall by the Statler Brothers crackles from the radio speakers. They ride along together without saying a word, and once they reach the semi, the old man slowly pulls up and allows Chucky and the trucker to exit the car. As they walk away, the little old lady cranks down her window and says,
"You boys be safe now. Good luck catching those rat bastards that stole your cash."
The Buick peels away before Chucky or the trucker can respond. Once in the semi again, Chucky's furious. He's stewing in the passenger seat, but the trucker starts asking him questions about the money, about Andy. Chucky ignores his questions and just continues to boss the trucker around. They pass a diner on the side of the highway, and he snaps an order at him to turn around and go back. Now the trucker doesn't disagree. He's absolutely starving. Once inside, the trucker orders a massive amount of grub, and when it finally comes, Chucky sneaks off and efficiently massacres the entire staff and the few remaining customers. The trucker will be oblivious to the chaos. Just as the trucker's about to hammer down some apple pie, Chucky slides back into the booth. He's calm and relaxed now, as if all he needed was just to get that out of his system. The trucker looks around and sees the aftermath of Chucky's tantrum, and then nearly whimpers as he quietly suggests that they should leave. Chucky agrees and then pulls out a flyer for the carnival and slides it across the table to the trucker. He explains that he found the flyer when he was hiding in the storage bay of the kid's bus, and he thinks that this is where they can find Andy. Now, as I said before, I think that the scenes in the carnival are the best parts of Child's Play 3, but they're annoyingly thin. We need some more fleshed out scenes with Chucky, stuff that actually makes sense to the story. He can actually use the dangerous, chaotic atmosphere of a carnival to set up some pretty gnarly kills and ultimately make them look like accidents. Once Andy and crew get to the carnival, they decide to split up and scope the place out. It isn't long before they find some bloody evidence that Chucky is there, and at that point, we'll switch back and forth between Chucky and the kid's perspective. With all the people hustling around and all the twists and turns of the carnival, there'll be plenty of opportunities to destroy some cannon fodder. Here's where I think we could reincorporate the death of Colonel Cochran. Mancini originally wrote it to be like a big macho muscly type, not the old butterball like we get in Child's Play 3. This time around we'll use the carnival's security team. Their leader is a big, nasty, bald, tatted up, sig-sucking badass, who eventually dies by fear-induced heart attack right after witnessing Chucky wield a huge knife. Chucky steals the security guard's keys and his radio and uses them to help cause a lot more mayhem. Eventually it would culminate in our boy Flanders getting seriously injured or killed and little Tyler taken hostage. Rather than the clunky gunfight at the top of the horror ride, this final battle would actually begin with Chucky ordering the trucker to murder children, and when he refuses, Chucky literally stabs him in the back. Andy and company pursue Chucky to the top of the ride, and once they get up there, they corner him and they just start taking turns whooping his ass. But just when they think it's said and done, Chucky gets the upper hand and apprehends Tyler again. He's so consumed with rage that this time he's not even worried about taking anybody's soul. He's just gonna slaughter Tyler in front of everyone. The trucker emerges from behind and grabs Chucky before he can hurt Tyler. He tosses Chucky down to his demise like Vader did Palpatine. Only in Child's Play 3 there's a fan waiting below. As Chucky gets chopped up, the trucker slowly succumbs to his wounds. So Chucky gets chopped the fuck up all the same, and from here, Andy can go ahead and move on with his new ragtag family. Although he's unsure of what the future may hold, Andy's now fully equipped with the best possible playbook for if Chucky were to ever return. It's really simple. Don't fight alone. Okay, that was a lot. I know it's still very fragmented, but I think that is just one semi-detailed way that you could fix Child's Play 3. Again, this is just all for fun. I love Child's Play 3, and despite any shortcomings or criticisms that people like me or anybody else throw at it, I'm gonna love it and defend it forever. Thanks a ton if you made it this far. Be sure to let me know what you think of Child's Play 3 down in the comments below. Also, let me know what you think about my ideas. Did you love them? Did you hate them? Let's talk about it. Be sure to like and subscribe for more horror videos like this one, but until next time, be safe out there.